We're live. Be Better, episode 18. Back with the boss, the Ross, Jacob.w.ross, the boss. Back in studio with him. He missed last week because he was
sick as
on his deathbed again, playing hooky from the podcast and the workout. But that's okay. We'll get into that in a minute.
I did work out.
You did work out. Not for 2 days.
Not for 2 days.
I meant like work out with us Friday.
Ah, gotcha.
That's right. I didn't work out either. I had to go to work. But we are brought to you by SubZeroPlunge.com. I'm staring at my new Sub-Zero cold plunge. It is ballooned up. Probably the nicest inflatable I've ever had in my life. It's not like you think inflatable, you think kind of chintzy, you think thin, like kind of like the pool toys, that's what I think, inflatable.
Right.
This thing's like legit. Like it barely even looks like an inflatable.
It looks like you could go whitewater rafting in this thing.
Yeah, that's my plan. I'm going to get it out into the pool later and see if I can hit some waves, get a whirlpool going or something.
Yeah, I'll jump in, cannonball.
Yeah. So real nice setup. I have to, the reason why I'm not doing it right now is because I'm not 100% on the spot, and I really don't want to fill this thing full of water and then in my head try to move it because I won't drain the water. I'll try to push it, and it's just going to be a nightmare.
That would not be good.
I'm trying to be patient. We have a bar that I just picked up for like a 4-person podcast, so now we can open up to more guests and do stuff like that for this podcast and my other one. So we're going to install that tonight, and once that has its final resting place, I can then line up the Sub-Zero plunge in its final resting place. So that'll be huge additions to the podcast room this week. It's very bland for a while after I kind of got all this stuff in the background set up. If you're watching on YouTube, I just kind of quit. I didn't really quit. I just couldn't find a bar. I didn't want to buy a new one.
Nope.
I was like, I'm not spending $2,000. I have a bar that's 6 steps away from this room. I can't. I'm not buying another bar. Jursic was looking for me for months, and every one we found, it's such a sharp corner into my basement now that I walled it off, so it didn't look like they would fit. And then finally he found one in Joliet today. It comes apart in 3 pieces, 2 4-foot chunks, and then like an 8-foot top. Perfect. So me and Jacob, I went and picked that up today, and then me and Jacob are going to install it tonight and get it all set up. So thanks to John Jursic for finding me that bar. I would have not have found that because it probably wasn't in my Facebook Marketplace region because it was a little bit outside of where I usually search. So huge thanks to him for finding that, and pretty excited to get that installed.
Surprised John didn't just whip you up one.
I know. That's why I told him. I said, I'm getting to the point where I'm going to have to pay you to make me one.
Yeah.
But luckily we were able to find one for a decent price, and it's sitting in the house now. So I'm excited to get that thing up, get the Sub-Zero going this week, make this a little bit more of a man cave podcast room, add a little decorations.
Yes.
Decor. Yeah, maybe we'll put Amber on that job because not much of a decorator. But yeah, so thank you to Sub-Zero Plunge, my brother Tim, for checking them or sending me one out. So check them out, SubZeroPlunge.com. Use code BeBetter at checkout for $250 hairs off your purchase. Let's get right into it. Let's do Jacob's. We're going to do Jacob's birthday podcast. Since last week, he was dying on us. And I knew something was wrong because we were in the gym and he was not really talking much. And I go, I think something's going on with this guy.
Sign number one.
You were just like in your own head.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nope, something's wrong.
And I couldn't really get into the lift. Like I was moving the weight, but I never felt a pump. I never felt locked in. I was just moving weight around. And every time I was forcing myself to do a set. I'm just
this ain't it.
I just didn't have it. But I'm not. It was my actual birthday that day. So I'm not going to not work out on my birthday. That sucks. And then I got really sick that night and sick for a couple days. Haven't been that sick in 10 years since I got back from Haiti a long time ago. But no one else got sick. In
the house, just you?
Just me. So maybe it's something I ate. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, I didn't eat for 2 or 3 days. And then, you have to get back to eating so that you can get back to working out, so that you can get back to feeling decent. So
get the fluids back in. You probably lost some weight.
I'm sure. I didn't even weigh myself. I just disgusted.
Yeah, I was disgusted looking at you. I get it.
So, today's probably the first day I felt normal.
Yeah.
All day I felt normal.
Oh, you're finally back to it's probably been a week, right? What's the
on Wednesday? The day?
Yeah, it's been a week. Yeah. Speaking of feeling normal, I am just sweating. My goodness. I take that cap off, relieve this steam, Yeah, glad you're back with us. We were lucky enough to celebrate your birthday though. Still,
We did.
we
Couple
went
times.
out.
Like 3 times, actually.
Yeah, wild.
I know.
37's a big year.
Big year. Big year of birthdays.
Yep. Did a little axe tossing.
We did some really good acts. By the end of it, we were all pretty good.
Yeah, I was not annoyed, but I was like, oh shit, axe throwing. I go, last time I did this, it did not go good. I was just so bad at it, and like the guy who's teaching me, like, no, throw softer. I like barely throw it. Throw harder. I whip it. Like there was no rhythm. I couldn't find like like you like shooting hoops,
Yeah.
which I really don't understand how that works. But like when you finally get a rhythm on something,
Yep.
like, oh okay, cool. I can 7 out of 10, I'm gonna be good. That's how I finally got with the axe, and I'm like, oh, whew. I could like look at Amber and start throwing axes and be good at it. I'm like, oh, nice, I got this finally. Like it felt good in my hand. I don't know what I was doing before.
I don't know. I
Just
mean,
chucking
it
them
didn't
at the
take
ground.
you long. A couple rounds, you were nailing it.
Yeah, about time.
Yeah. Cam figured it out. I figured it out. No, it was awesome.
Yeah, that was a good time. The only downside was I was sweating worse than I am now in that place.
It was hot.
It was so hot in there.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, you guys just don't turn the AC on in this building?
Open a window, something.
Oh my gosh, like I'm over there just like pouring sweat, chucking axes. Like, oh, we got to get out of here.
And I got Alicia around the motorcycle.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
first time on the new bike.
Yeah. She's never really ridden with me.
Yeah,
So we rode from our house to downtown, which isn't far, but it was still fun. Nobody gets a bike because you want to ride by yourself. That's kind of strange.
yeah, I hear that. I mean, I don't have a bike, but if I did, I wouldn't want to ride by myself.
I mean, sometimes it's nice just to go on a ride, but like in general, it's like you want to ride with your friends or have your wife with you. Like it's just cool. The experience.
Yeah, go to some bars, get in some fights.
Break some hot sauce bottles.
Yeah, I get it.
You got
I
it.
should get a bike. Maybe since Amber and my kids are gone, when she shows back up, I'll have a bike.
Bike is here. What are you gonna do? You can't take it back.
Nope, I already bought it, babe.
No refunds.
Yep, $100 a month for 10 years. A great deal.
Awesome deal.
Perfect. No, not for me. Maybe the kids are older, I'd get one.
I think you will.
I'm a little too wild. I'd be an idiot.
No, I don't think so.
You'd be surprised how dumb I could be, Jacob. Or maybe you wouldn't be. Speaking, let's get off the topic of Tom for a second and buying bikes that I'm not going to buy. Let's get to the topic of Jacob turning 37. So, first question. Best. Let's do this. One thing you learned in your 36th year. As a business, family, relationship, patience. One lesson you could take away from your 36th year. Because everybody goes like after 21 or 25, it's kind of. But I think it's good to remember, hey, you built up to be this 37-year-old. How'd you get there? Okay, what did you learn at 36? Anything in particular?
I think, we talked about it recently. I think the thing that would probably stand out the most is just to focus on my marriage.
Yeah.
And just focusing on Alicia and making sure that that's a priority as much as it can be. I think the age that I'm at now is that age of, your kids are all young, but they're old enough to be doing stuff, dance and swim and gymnastics and t-ball, and they're in school, and so you're running around with all that stuff and friends and play dates, and your kid's schedule is your schedule because they have no other way to get around, and you want to give them every opportunity you can to develop and grow and have a good life. And anyway, it's just very easy for your life to become your kids.
Right.
And as opposed to your kids being a very important part of your life and the vast majority of your life, but there's still a relationship with your spouse that you have to take care of. And I just think that us going to that marriage conference, just taking that time, like I thought it was really a good way to like refocus in like a safe way. Like no one's like accusing each other like, hey, you haven't been paying attention to me, or hey, we're not doing this. Like it's just like, oh no, we go together, we talk about it, we listen. It's like lowers everything, and it's really good, really good.
Yeah, no, I thought you were going to lean towards that because that seemed like kind of a big. That weekend was like kind of like not a big shift because I don't, I'm not too involved in your relationship, but like there's a lot of good takeaways from it. You know what I mean? From that, what you learned there. So,
I mean, Alicia did throw the axe at me last weekend.
I mean, that's a good start.
That was a great start.
Yeah, I think Amber almost threw it at me, but keywords almost. So
you only lost half your beard.
Yeah, that's all right. It grew back really fast. I'm like Wolverine. Best advice for starting a new venture.
Ooh,
pretty broad question.
Yeah.
What's your advice?
I would say that you should have, if it's a new venture and you're not like super young, I would say that you should have some expertise in it already. You should have some leads already. Um, I don't think I would start. I mean, everybody's situation is different, but having kids and wife, family, I don't see anything that makes sense that I can't step into knowing that there's some measure of success that's attainable.
Yeah.
With in a relatively short amount of time. If I said, "Hey, tomorrow I want to start Jacob's F-150 customization shop." Like I love trucks and I love talking about trucks and looking at trucks and all that, but I don't have any credibility as a mechanic. I don't
have a shop.
I don't have a shop. I don't like that would be just something that I'm interested in, but it's outside of what would make sense from a safety standpoint. Risk, everything's a risk, but it's calculated. And so like when we started, Be Better coaching, we weren't doing something we didn't understand how to do. Now, online coaching and like that whole process, we had to figure that out. But the fundamental of the idea we understood, and we knew what we wanted to do.
Right.
So that made it a pretty safe, calculated thing to do. Even when I, started working in nonprofit space, it was with Lual and his foundation, which had already been helping for a while. You know what I mean? Like it's something new, but something that I had experience and a way to move forward in, even though it was new.
You probably felt like I'm comfortable in this spot. Which it isn't necessarily say if you're not comfortable, don't shy away from it. But like in kind of your situations, you're like, I've already kind of been helping this, and I've been training people for 20 years. Let's just figure out the business side of it and the online side of it, because that's what we don't know. But we know what we're doing.
Right, and business is business. I mean, I think you listen to a business podcast or read a business book or whatever. Like, there's a lot of similarities you can pull, even if your industry or your trade or whatever is different. And I think the other thing is, and I think you would probably agree with this, when we started Be Better, it was during COVID, and I don't know if we could have started it right now. Like, we had more time then. For sure I did. I know you were still working like normal, but like I didn't travel. I wasn't going into an office.
Yeah.
I wasn't going anywhere. Like, I had time to sit down and make videos and figure out how to index stuff and talking to lawyers. Like we just, I feel like we had time. It's like at this point, man, to think about like restarting that from scratch it's just stressful. Seems like I got too much stuff to do right now already. So anyway, I think, trying to be realistic about what your time constraints and what you can put into it, because, I think it's Ron Swanson says like, don't half-ass two things, just whole-ass one thing.
Bingo.
And it's like, half-assing a new venture is never a good idea.
Yeah, and especially if it's like you said, if you're in a situation where you have to have a lot of stability in your life and you're doing it on the side and you're just kind of putzing around with it, it might not take off. And look in the mirror, because that's the guy's fault.
Yep.
If you put a little bit pressure creates diamonds, right? So if you put a little pressure, what I like to tell people, I have my one friend Lauren. I help, kind of not business coach her. I just help her advice. Hey, this is what I've learned. Here's a cheat code, so you don't have to struggle. And I'm like, just set a fucking schedule. Like, hey, like even for me sometimes, like the dad challenge, I'm like, I got to pick a date. Because if I just say, yeah, I'm going to do it, like, no, March 8th, I better get these workouts done.
Right.
Jacob, you got to look these over for me. We got to double check everything before these go out. Like, boom, pressure. I got it. You'll carve out an hour for me. I'll carve out X amount of hours to get this done. Cool. We'll take care of it. So having even like little dates, even if it's little things to cross off on a piece of paper, that can build momentum, and to where you're not just like, I'll do a side thing. Oh, I'll just create an Instagram. And then you do it on the toilet in 10 minutes, and a week goes by, and you're like, what happened to that great idea you had?
Right.
So having somewhat of a goals list, maybe a 6-month plan, right? We're almost halfway through the year. 6-7 month plan would help get that venture started. But if you're just willy-nillying it, it's very unlikely it's going to go anywhere.
Yeah, and it's a good analogy with lifting, and like,
yeah,
I could go in the gym, just kind of putz around, not do much, right? And I'm not going to see a lot of progress. It takes pressure. It takes some planning to go in there and like actually do
goals,
some work.
Meets, shows,
100%.
Competitions, whatever.
Yeah, and at the same time, though, I'm going to go pick something I can actually compete in. I'm not going to sign up for, an Ironman. Like,
Right.
That's Jacob.w.ross is not going to do well in that. 250 Jacob running a marathon and swimming, and like I could do any of those things for a short amount of time well, but not for 8, 9, 10 hours, whatever it is. So and same thing, like even like within a lift, like if I'm squatting, like okay, squatted 700 last year, big deal for me. If I'm warming up and let's say I get to 620 or something right now, I'll be, that's a pretty good squat for me. But I wouldn't be like, hey Tom, pressure time, 800 on the bar, buddy, let's go, brother. Like, terrible idea. So I just think there's a lot of analogies with like starting a business and thinking about the gym, and of course it's easy for me to talk about it like that, but you find lessons in it.
Well, obviously most people listen are lifters anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So it does help to make that analogy. Like if you're going to putz around the gym, you ain't going to get anywhere. If you're going to set a goal and get determined,
you will.
You will.
Yep.
Here we go. We'll switch gears. Favorite vehicle you've ever owned? Yeah, I say past 5 years, right?
5 years? That's it?
That should be the start of the Ford F-150 XLT.
Oh, it is.
That should be the start.
It is, actually. Yeah, it was 2018 when I got that.
Okay, so favorite. No, we'll just go favorite vehicle ever. I would just think it'd be the last 5 years. I could tell you mine of yours, but you go first.
Ooh, now that's an interesting question. My favorite vehicle ever, I think, will have to be my first car still, which is my 1990 Eddie Bauer Bronco, green with the tan line, power back window that rolled down, chrome wheels, because it was my first car. Yeah. My dad bought it for me. It wasn't expensive. It's like $4,500, which back then, I mean, I guess that's some money, but it's like still a cheap car. It was in really good shape. There was no paint damage, nothing like that. And I washed that thing every Saturday for like 3 years. Every single Saturday. To the point that when we finally sold it, we lived off a highway. We had a really long driveway through our basically our pasture, essentially. You could say it's a yard. It wasn't a yard. We mowed it with a 8-foot shredder. But we park out by the highway because a lot of traffic, and you just sell your own car, like whatever.
Yep.
And it sat out there for a day, and a truck driver pulled in and said, "I've driven past this house every Saturday on my route, and I see you out there washing that car. I'll buy it right now. I know it's taken care of." Literally, it sat out there for one day, and this guy bought it. So
that's funny.
I don't know that I'll ever love a car again like that because of first and my dad, like all those things that roll into it. Now, if you take that out of it, because it's just hard to top, I would have to say my gray F-150 because of the amount of work that I put into it.
Yep.
There was never a time I wasn't doing something to that truck or washing it.
Every Saturday.
One of the two. That was going to be my long-term truck until it got totaled. And then the dominoes fell.
The dominoes fell hard every 4 months.
Yeah. What's your favorite vehicle I've had?
I'd probably say just because I like the way it looked the most was your blue Raptor.
Yeah.
It looked mean. It was tuned. You had these fucking 37s on it. That was a mean motherfucker.
Yeah.
That thing looked cool. Coming down the road to my house, I know you don't get that Raptor sound, and there's a lot of back and forth in the forums. You need that V8, but I don't know, dude. That twin turbo V6, that thing would rip.
You only changed that mid pipe. It sounded pretty gnarly.
Yeah, that sounded good.
It wasn't like a deep V8, but it was a gnarly sound.
When you got on it, it was there for sure. It was that was probably my favorite, just because I liked the way it looked coming into the house. I'm
it looked cool.
That's a cool truck. I still look at it today. I'm like, it seems like a blue one around or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that's a nice rig.
That might be the best looking vehicle I've had, or the Bronco. The Bronco was really nice too.
Ooh, yeah, but it was so short. I barely, because the part that I don't struggle with, but my garage doors were closed.
Oh, that's
the
true.
whole time you had
winter, it. Yeah.
So in the summer, they're open. I could see it. All right, cool.
Yeah.
You got it. It was winter. Garage doors closed. We're not hanging outside looking at trucks.
Yeah.
So to me, I saw you drive that 10 times.
Yeah.
And it was gone.
It was cool though.
That was cool. Haley was very jealous.
Yeah.
That's the one she wanted. She wanted the big one, Area 51, perfect. But no way.
Yeah, another year or two she'll be able to get it.
She can, on her own, do whatever you want, figure it out, Peter. You know what I mean? Nope, not me. Yeah, no, I really like that especially when we'd park our trucks together and get breakfast and stuff.
Yeah,
That was the coolest thing.
That
for
was
me.
cool.
Felt like 16-year-old driving again. Your cars
Yeah. No, it was
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, except for in our 30s.
Perfect.
Same thing. We'll go switch back to training side of things. If this guy said he had a tweak near my trap months ago, now I have 50% strength on that side. Oof. Any advice?
So
you could give him specific advice, or you could just Jacob's injury protocol.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, obviously, not being a doctor, having any sort of imaging or anything like that, medical advice is going to be a poor choice of words here. But I would say this: typically, when you have a loss of strength, it's a nerve issue. Muscles that are strained, they only lose strength because they're strained. As soon as they heal, they get it back. Like,
Okay.
you strain a bicep, you let it heal, you get your strength back.
Yep.
If it's gone on that long and you're still training and it's not getting better, it sounds like a nerve issue. And a lot of people, brachial plexus runs out of the back of your head, down your trap into your shoulder, and that's a very common kind of nerve bunch to strain or have an issue with, and it will create numbness, tingling down the arm. It can create some weakness in the trap and in the hand. You do see that a lot in especially lifters. So it could be that. Anytime you have a nerve issue, you have to mobilize the area. That's like my protocol would be to mobilize it first. So soft tissue work. For that area, I'm a big fan of the Rogue sells one. It's Kelly Starrett's called Supernova. There's a lot of versions of it on Amazon.
Oh, that.
Super hard, softball size, but with ridges on it.
Yep, you have one, right?
Yeah.
Is that one you have? Yeah.
You get it against a wall that won't, dent, not drywall, like concrete or something in your basement. And you just roll that sucker around until you find a spot that's really tough. And then you tack that spot down. While you're keeping pressure on it, you're moving your shoulder, up, down, right, left, just trying to get movement around that tissue while it's tacked down. To help release the tissue, and then that'll usually release some of the pressure on the nerve if it is a nerve issue. And then once you do that, you have to train the joint and the muscle to go to the spot that you want it to go to. So you release it and then you train it. You release it and then you train it. You release it and you train it. It's not that different than training a dog in the sense that your dog does something good, you give it a treat. Except it's backwards with this. You give yourself a treat by releasing it, and then you train it while it's released. That gives you a chance to actually do the work that you need to do while it's kind of happy and whatever. And then over time, if you're doing your training right, even 1% better is a big deal on a nerve issue. Mm-hmm. And then it snowballs very well from there. But a lot of people with nerve stuff, especially that's been going on a long time, after a workout, they'll be like, it doesn't feel any different. I'm like, it's been like 8 hours. Like, you've been dealing with this for 6 months. Like, are you at least 0.5% better?
Yeah.
And like, oh, maybe actually. I'm like, okay, well, let's, 0.5%'s hard to say with any validity, so let's just give it a couple of days. And after 2 or 3 days, like, maybe it is like 2 or 3% better. I'm like, that's good. We'll do that again next week, and next week, we're 12, 10, 9, whatever % better. So anyway, and then it snowballs really quickly. So nerve issues are tricky. You got to be patient with them. But I do think I was telling this to one of my friends today who's a chiropractor. It's like, I don't think I've ever had someone that didn't improve that I've worked with. And so my point being, not that I'm like a magician or trying to like point like, ooh, look at Jacob. It's more so that anybody who's got an injury, I think there's hope. I don't think you have to think, oh, this is how it's going to be forever. Because I haven't met someone.
Or I need surgery. There's no other option.
Yeah,
that's
right.
the other issue, because doctors get paid for surgery for a reason.
That happens all the time. And again, I'm not against doctors, Thurston, by any means.
Damn it, Thurston, you and your scalpels.
I'm against doctors who don't encourage their clients to seek rehabilitation first.
Yeah.
They just want to go surgery right away. Because my thing is, best case scenario, you avoid surgery if you train it right. Worst case scenario, you're really strong going into surgery, which they want you to be, so that you recover faster. Right. So either way, it's a win for you.
Yep.
Unless it's like something that's time sensitive, like a tendon or whatever. But most of the time with these kind of injuries or issues, I would say, you give it a good go at it and see. There's a client, I posted this on our Be Better Instagram, who's like, he came to me last year. He had back pain for a decade straight. Played hockey, worked, and just a decade of back pain. PTs, chiros, you name it, doctors, he did it. And he just said, look, man, like, what's it going to hurt to try working with you? I heard you on a podcast, blah, blah, blah. And within like 6 months, he was pain-free. And, you could say, 6 months is a long time, but it's not long compared to a decade.
Not 10 years.
And guy just squatted 225. Actually, he squatted 255 this week. Pain-free. Like, really good squat, actually. Plays hockey a couple nights a week still. So this is stuff that he never thought he'd be able to do or do without any pain. And he's doing it all in the same week now. So I'm just saying, like, there's hope, I think, for a lot of people. Like, don't get stuck on, like you said, it's either going to be like this or I need surgery. There's probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. As far as your bikes go, what do you see major differences between Harley, and Indian.
I know for sure who asked this question. It for sure was Big Poppy.
No, this is Rhett Williams. Big Poppy was
What?
a venture one. Yep.
That wasn't Big Poppy. Okay, because I give him crap all the time about riding a Harley and not riding Indian.
You used to ride a Harley.
That's true too.
Rest in
Goodness
peace
gracious.
to your quads.
Yeah, we left that one on the bike.
On the street.
Well, no, I would say this. I've had both. I've ridden, like anybody's riding motorcycles, ridden a Harley. And I had a Harley, and I've ridden a lot of, street glides and road glides. Just friends. If you ride bikes, you know somebody has a black street glide.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, everybody has it. So, I would say that Indians in general are set up for bigger people. If you're taller, especially.
Bunch of Tom Kallas running around on Indians.
The controls are almost always a little bit mid to forward. They're never mid or back like they are on a lot of Harleys. I would say that your value currently it's still better with an Indian. If you compare side by side, same horsepower, if it even matches up, speakers, all that stuff, Indian's going to be the same or better, but like $2 or $3 grand cheaper. It was more a couple years ago. Now they're charging more because people are buying them, but it's still a better value to buy the Indian. And the last thing I would say the difference between the two is Indian just does some cool stuff. Harley I think has been victim of complacency by success. They've been so successful that when was the last time they changed their street glide? I think it's been like 14 years, something like that.
Really?
And that's crazy. Could you imagine, like, you don't change a F-150 for, like, almost 2 decades? Like, it's crazy. And we'd be driving OBSs still, which would actually be kind of cool. But the point being is there's never been anyone to push them. Indian bought by Polaris, they start producing bikes again, and they start making some pretty cool stuff. They do this King of the Baggers race where they race bagger motorcycles. Mm-hmm. Indians won it the last, like, 2 or 3 years. They're just smoking Harley right and left.
Stock bikes.
Huh?
They have to have them stock.
No, they're a production bike. You're allowed to modify within. It's like NASCAR. You're allowed to modify within certain parameters. You can't make a racing bike. It has to be a bike you can buy on the floor, and then you can change exhaust and tune it or whatever. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, they're doing some cool stuff. There's a lot of companies that are coming out now that are working on them, and it just feels like motorcycle culture is like kind of new. Harley, to me personally, somebody's gonna listen to this and get offensive because Harley people are like, oh, Harley.
Yeah.
Don't get offended. Just saying, Harley just seems very old school, and
for
it
a
doesn't.
Bunch of small Tom Kallas's.
Small Tom Kallas's. No, it just doesn't seem like something that that is interesting to me personally. Indian seems like, oh, this is cool. Like there's this shop in St. Louis. It's the guy's putting the Baja lights, like the Baja designs, like the big honeycomb lights.
Yep.
He's got a kit where you can replace your headlight with that, which just looks cool. Like lights up the whole road, plug and play. Like there's just so much cool stuff that's coming out. So yeah, those would be my things.
Boxers or briefs?
Briefs.
Okay, and then there was a part 2 to the briefs. Really?
What,
briefs are the tighter ones, right?
What do boxers do?
Oh, they're the worst.
It's like wearing 2 pairs of shorts.
Yeah. Is it sweat more? No, thanks. I've never worn, but I put them on one time. I'm like, what is this?
No, it's serious. It's like wearing 2 pairs of shorts. It makes no sense.
There was a part 2 to the favorite vehicle. If bucket list vehicle, if money was no object. If you go pick a free car truck, what would you buy?
Oh, my God.
And you couldn't sell it.
I can't sell it. I have
no,
to
you
keep
can't
it.
buy a fucking Bugatti and sell it tomorrow and just hang out.
That's it. That's what I'd do. I'd buy something crazy like that, sell it, and buy a bunch of other cars.
Nope. You go pick one under, let's call it under 200 grand then. Go pick your truck or car.
I mean, I would almost want to add the caveat of, like, it can't break down. Like, it can't you know what I mean? Like, I'm not thinking about that. Because I really think that I would get either an Excursion. We were talking about that earlier. I just think Excursions are freaking cool. I wish they made an SUV that big again. I don't think they ever will.
They did make a 6.7 Excursion.
Huh.
Like I think a guy took a Super Duty.
Oh.
And he made
a bed.
And it was
bed.
like but it didn't look like he made it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I think it was like 120 grand. Like, it was insane. It's cool.
Wild. Yeah, but they'll never make an SUV that big again. I mean, if you've looked at one so recently, big. I mean, you literally have 3 full rows of seats, nothing cramped about any 3 of them. And then you have a basically like a truck bed behind it that's enclosed. I mean, it's insane how massive that vehicle is.
Yeah, we had one growing up.
Oh, I just think they're super cool.
0273. Could have bought it too, and I said, "Nah, I'm good." Things I wish I would have done.
I just think they're just super cool. And then I think after that, it would probably be like an OBS crew cab F-150 or Super Duty. Sorry, white with a blue stripe. My dad had one.
Oh, that's right.
And we used to call it like all sorts of names, like Blue Betty and the Big Blue Ship and like all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I still remember he had the camper cab on the back, and he would keep tools and stuff in there. And like I still remember like right now how the oil and stuff, like from being enclosed and like his tools, like I still remember that smell. He's sitting back there all the time because I was smaller. Like, go get tools, like Jacob, climb your butt in there and go get this wrench or this whatever. And
no, dumbass.
Yeah, right. A lot of that, for sure. Dad, I don't know what this is. But I just think that would be cool. It's my most memorable vehicle at my dad's. It was like when I was, probably like 6 to 10 or 6 to 11, something like that. Like those years where you really start like paying attention to what's going on. And I just think that, and I think they look cool. So I think it would have been super cool.
What's one of your favorite memories from your dad?
Man, that's tough.
First thing that comes to mind.
I mean, lifting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because it's one of two things. It's how hard he worked to provide. Shift work at a plant, 12 hours, flip-flop night and days.
Still training.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's hard. That's like, I'm 30. That's hard. Like I'm going on shift next week, and it screws me up, dude. You have no routine. I'm just like floating through my day, figuring out what I'm doing next. Like, it's hard.
And theirs was like a 30-day or a 45-day. I forget how they scheduled it out. We had this big, back then it was a piece of paper they'd print out and stick on the refrigerator, and there was, green days, yellow days, red days, and that like each one meant off, on nights or on days. And it was like, a little kid colored it. It wasn't like, oh, you're on days all week or you're on nights all week. It's like 2 days, 1 day off, 3 nights, 2 days off, back to days for a day off, overtime night, back into a day. Like, I'm like, how in the world? Like, I don't even know if that would be allowed today, to be honest. Like, how random the schedule was. Like, you can't, ultimately, if you don't know, he passed away from Alzheimer's. And I think to myself, like, genetics for sure play a role, but like him not sleeping consistently essentially his whole life, like that could not have helped. So just like when I think about that, like I always get emotional because it's someone now who has family and kids and works. Like I understand like how cool it was that I never felt like he wasn't there, but he was always working. Yeah. That's a really hard thing to do. It's something I try to do with my family and I don't think I do a great job at it, to be honest. I think there's times I do better, and there's times that I don't say distracted, but it's easy for me to just like keep working or keep doing stuff as opposed to like stepping out and just paying attention or locking in. So anyway, but outside of that, I would say lifting, and my favorite thing would probably be, again, if you know me well, you might have heard this story at some point in person. I don't think I ever told it on a podcast. But there was a guy in our gym, our Pittsburgh gym, who, first of all, was owned by a roofer who was a bodybuilder. So he had a lot of cool equipment in this metal building. And for a small town, it was incredibly well equipped, and old Nautilus stuff and, whatever. And he kept adding pieces to it. But we had this guy who would work out in the gym who was a Navy veteran, and he had gotten some sort of neurological disorder. I don't think it was from his service. I think it's just genetic or whatever. And so when he would come in the gym, it's easy to tell he had this neurological issue, and he's a super nice guy, and he would always ask if he could play his music. And we'd always be like, of course, like, what are you going to do? Tell the guy no? Like, of course. Right. And back then we had that AWA 3-disc CD changer that would, the speaker wires like in the either corner of the gym. Oh, yeah. And there was 2 CDs that stayed in there, and the third one was always blank. The blank one was like whoever happened to come in, they play their music, right? One of the CDs was Creed, Human Clay, that album. And
probably remembered if I listened to it.
Yeah, and then the other album that was always in there was this guy's, and it was Shania Twain's Greatest Hits.
Awesome.
Every day, he wanted to hear Shania Twain's Greatest Hits.
That's what he would play?
That's what he would play every single
I thought you were going to say like Def Leppard or something.
And the first song was, Let's Go Girls. And like every day. I heard that song that summer. And I was benching, and like I didn't even realize he came in. The music stops. Let's go, girls. And I like miss a bench. And I'm just pinned underneath the weight. And my dad's like,
damn it, Shania.
yeah, my dad's like not helping me, right? And I'm getting annoyed because he's not helping me. And I'm like 16 or 17. I'm not very old. And I'm like, Dad, I can't. He's like, well, lift it. And I'm like, well, I can't lift it. He's like, why not? I'm like, oh, this music. And it's just, I'll never forget it. He's like, son, if you're worried about the music, you're worried about the wrong thing. And I'm just like, damn. Eventually he helped me. He let me sit there for probably a minute easily. Like I wasn't going to come off. I was going to have to dump it. And I'll never forget that. Like when I used to train at EFT, you know, people, all sorts of different people and athletes and whatever. And like, I just never let the music really bother me. I don't think after that ever again. And I'll never forget there was a strongman I did in Texas when my dad was still pretty good in terms of health. And it was in the convention center. And they put the strongman up right next to the Zumba stage. Mm. So every strongman, they would be playing like death metal essentially. Yep. Right next to, there's no wall, it's just a convention center. The sheet. Zumba. No, they're not even sheet. You can see everything.
Oh,
it's
really?
Like, they had like those like at the airport fences. Like
yeah.
That's all they had between the two. So you'd be doing tire flips here in either, you know, in one ear and then like, you know, like in the other ear. And like it was just like the most random mix of music in a terrible way. And I just remember like I don't care. I just didn't care. And my dad's sitting right there, and I'm thinking to myself like I don't care. He told me a long time ago that doesn't matter. Like if that's what I'm thinking about, I'm not thinking about the right thing. So I'll never forget that lesson. Just an idea of focus, not just in training and anything. You know, like what are you when you're annoyed or something? Like what are you really worried about? Is it the thing you're trying to do? Does it have anything to do with the thing you're trying to do? Like if it doesn't, like fix yourself. It's not someone else's issue. It's your issue.
Right.
And he's trying to tell me it wasn't Shania Twain and her greatest hits. It was me just not paying attention.
Don't blame Shania, son. Damn it. Sit under that bar a little longer.
There's our next T-shirt. Don't blame Shania, son.
That's funny. Not an old dude, but he's a little older now. He said the same thing to me. I was lifting and I'm like, yeah, I'm just waiting for my song. He's like, take your fucking headphones off. Because do you need a song to squat, or do you know how to squat? I go, I know how to squat. Go. Now,
yeah.
Stop fucking around. Because I had like Pandora where you have to like listen to
the
ads. It's like another minute and then I'm going to squat. He goes, you don't need fucking music. You need music to lift? No. Go. Okay. Now it's like sometimes I'll play, like usually we'll play music now, just whatever, but half the time I don't listen. That's like a big lift, then I'll want to put something on, but you can't hear the music. I can't.
Once you get under it.
Get fired up, sure. Under it, I don't hear anything. I don't see anything.
Yeah.
I go right back to what I know, and that's squatting. Same thing like when I do these exercise classes, like the cardio ones I do. It's like I have no idea what they're playing in the music. I'm just thinking, okay, breathe.
Yeah.
And my whole thing now is like I don't want to show weakness, so I don't want to be the guy like, you know, I want to be just chilling.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole time I'm there. I'm like I want this to look like it doesn't even faze me. So that's like what I'm thinking about the whole time. I'm like, man, when you were telling me that story, I'm like, I have no idea what they played today.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit.
I mean, how many times have you heard me here? I'll do something heavy. You guys say, Jay, if you want a song, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
It just comes from my dad. No, to be honest,
that memory's stronger than a song will ever be.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, to be honest, like you said, there are times like where I'll be like, hey, let's play the song and get you fired up, and I think that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But it's like anything in life. Like it's okay to have things shouldn't have you, right? It's okay to have a song, but the song shouldn't have you. Shouldn't be like the only way you can lift. So it's a good balance for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. Me and Amber went to the gym the other day together. He's like, what's your like go-to song from like the gym? And I'm like, I don't know. Whatever. I want to play my music? Sure. Like nothing's like, I don't really need to be fired up to go walk in to do a workout. Like, I don't need a monster. I don't need anything. Just give me a bottle of water and just, I could just drive there silent. I think that's one thing me and Cam did well. Like when we sit together, we went to like Columbus years ago now. We didn't turn the radio on one time. Just sat there.
Yeah.
And you know how it is like when it can be silent between people, but it's not awkward?
Yep.
What do you guys listen to? Nothing. I don't think we turned the radio on. I started seeing things in the road at one point, and I pulled over to get gas, and I got back right on the road. That's what happens when I get too tired. I start seeing things.
Yeah, right.
Is that a lady? No, it's a light.
Jeez.
Nope, that's a ditch. That's a good lesson. I like that. The music lesson. I think a lot of people could take that and apply it to their own lives. They don't, don't let things have you.
Yeah, just it's okay to have things. Don't let them have you. It's an important thing. And yeah, I mean, nobody was perfect. My dad wasn't perfect. I'm not perfect. But it is fun to sit here and think about some of that stuff because, a lot of times you try not to think about that stuff just because it makes you emotional, because you miss them. But it's cool when I'm like to sit and think about it.
Yeah, I've never had a loss that great. So like I just don't. Not that I don't have empathy, but like I have a little bit of understanding because Amber lost her dad.
Yeah.
But it's just hard for me to have the same thing. Like I have like my grandparents both died, and that was hard because like we were closer with them, but nothing like a dad. That's tough, especially with being young.
Yeah,
that's like the work. You know what I mean? Like if he's 85, you're like, oh, that makes sense.
100%.
Like, that's the process. But when you start going into your 50s, 60s, you're like, whoa, no, we got time.
Yeah,
that's what probably fucking hurts the most. It's like, gosh,
start
having kids and then.
It's that his age, how young he was, but plus all he wanted to do is be a grandpa. That's it. All he wanted to do. That's it. And he knew Avery when he was still okay. Ashton and him got along, but she was little, and Jax was only like 2 months old when he passed. So, just him not getting to do that. That's like the one thing he wanted. Like my dad didn't want a lot in life, and it's like, dang, you didn't even get to do that. That sucks. So, yeah, that's probably the most emotional thing for me because and also too with my kids, like I'm like they didn't get to know him, which sucks. Like I wish they would have. So, but nothing you can do about it other than put on Shania Twain's greatest hits every once in a while and bench press.
Get floored underneath some weight. I can help you with that. I'm pretty good at that with benching. I can get it down. That part is tricky. Let's go, girls. Let's end on that for your birthday episode, buddy.
Perfect.
Happy 37th. Happy you're with us. Happy you were born.
Thank you, sir.
That's always a good thing.
It's a good thing.
For me and you and your family and your kids and everybody. So,
that's good. And
the knowledge that you give on this podcast is much appreciated. Your experience in the gym helps me out, helps the listeners out, I hope. And one thing I think me and Jake are going to talk offline is I think we should do some sort of seminar soon. We've talked about this in the past, but even if it's something small we start, I think it's just we have a lot to offer. Like I was talking to one of the people at F45 today about it. I'm like, we love new people to come squat. Like if a client can come out and he's like, hey, I'm like an hour away, or Braden drives in, like, this is awesome. Hey, idiot, you're doing this wrong. Hey, this hurts. Can you work on this? Jacob fixes in 10 minutes. Me and Cam tear apart our squat and make it better. Like, we love that shit. So I think that was by my mind a lot today because I did a lot of driving today. It's like, man, me and Jacob need to offer more people more access to this stuff. And it's not just hire us on coaching, but come to a seminar, train with us for the day, learn this. I'm going to teach you how to squat, bench, deadlift, and we'll have me, Jacob, Cam there, whatever.
We got a place to do it.
We got a couple places to do it, really. We got your gym, my gym.
Well, I'm saying Gina's gym.
Gina's gym, right? Yeah, there's a couple different spots we can make this happen. So be on the lookout for something like that because that is something I think is going to be important. And just like you said, we have this knowledge, so it'd be unfair not to share it with you guys. And in person is just things get caught on a lot quicker.
Oh, it's the fastest way for sure,
and it's the fastest way to coach. But
and you as an athlete, you gain a lot faster. Like you can learn more in an hour and a half of having like Tom watch your squat. You can make up like years of work, and I'm not exaggerating it. I'll tell the story all the time. When I first met Tom, we met at church, and realized that we knew all the same people. We just didn't know each other. Even though I'd heard of Tom, I just had never actually met him. We lived like 20 minutes away. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And we literally knew all the same people. And in terms of like out in California and all that stuff. But anyway, I went from never have doing more than like a 585 squat, I think. 575 was like my best or something.
Yeah.
To squatting 6 something pretty quick. And I think before you moved from your old house, I think I squatted 670 in reps pretty well.
Yeah, I think it was 670 at the old house.
And that was like my best squat ever.
Almost 100 pounds.
Yeah, and that, I mean, I wasn't young when I showed up at your house.
Right,
I was 33, 34, somewhere in there. So it's not like I was like a new train, like, ooh, I'm new to this. Like I've been squatting heavy for a long time.
Yeah, because when we met, I would think only 27, you were 34. Because one of our like passwords, the end of it was 2835.
Oh,
And that's when we started the business together. You were 35, I was 28.
Okay, gotcha.
So
yeah, so I would have been 33 or 34 then, somewhere in there, depending on exactly when. But yeah, no. So I mean, just for myself, listening to you, watching you correcting things like on the spot made me an incredibly better squatter. And I'm still not a great squatter. It's not my natural gift. Like I can squat.
It's
but
tough. You got longer limbs. It's hard to do.
Yeah, but like I get deadlift. Like I get it. My body understands it. Doesn't mean I'm perfect at it. Just I understand the lift.
Feels good, yeah. Squat's tough, man. It's a fucking hard exercise.
And even bench. I mean, I don't bench anymore because of my pec. But like I was a decent bencher, like 425. I think was my PR.
Yeah.
Weighing 240 something. Like not terrible. And again, for being a taller guy, I thought it was good. But like squat for me, it's like there's so many variables. A little wider, a little closer. Anyway, the point being is for a seminar, it's worth your time in terms of progress because you'll make so much quickly. It's important.
Yeah, it would be huge, I think, for us to do it and for others to learn. So be on the lookout for that. Check out our sponsor, Sub-Zero. Plunge.com, code BeBetter, $250 here. So check out, you're going to see me popping in that thing more as I get it set up, as I get this room set up with Jacob.
Podcast in there?
Nope. You can. We'll bring the cord over to you. You're not going to last very long. Guarantee that. I thought about doing one just to spite you. Like, I'll show you, Jacob. I'll do one. But it wouldn't last very long. And as always, if you want good coaching, great nutrition, great programs written by Jacob, myself, Trisha, Cam, Carl, any of our coaches, Dan, let us know. Hit us up on Instagram or email or direct through the website. Check us out. We're always taking on clients. There's never 3 spots left kind of thing. Always looking to help people, whether it's you're just buying a template program, which typically I monitor, but sometimes me and Jacob split them up, or you want custom training with one of our world-class coaches. We are great. We've done 500 clients since we started. Rehab people, made people stronger, PR'd in their meets, people that, just wanted to be stronger or just wanted to be fit, right? And we made them stronger. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
We have a lot of good client testimonials. They're on the website as well. Check those out. So if you're interested in any training, you like the content, you want to support us, you can buy a t-shirt or a hat. The hats, those are limited, actually. The whole 3 spots left. There's only we're down to less than half of the hats left. It's a, what is it? A mesh back, Velcro back hat. It's more athletic. It's not the flat bill style, really, which I'm glad they kind of came out like this. It's really a lot more sporty. It has a rubberized logo on the front, the Be Better logo. You sweat your ass off, and especially now it's like almost 90 degrees here in Illinois. I can take this. I could wash it in my sink with some Dawn and some water, and I could lay it on the rack. Wake up in the morning, it's going to be dry, and I can wear it the next day and it doesn't smell. Because that's the issue with a lot of our hats that I've worn is they're kind of thick, cumbersome. Do I wash this in the dishwasher? And you buy that plastic thing that goes over it, and you put, and it's like then it just never comes back to life. They're thin, they're nice to wear in the winter. They're not too warm. They breathe. This one's a little wet because I sweated in it all day, but it's nice to wash and have a fresh hat every day.
Yeah, I mean the material is like water resistant. I think it's actually waterproof. It just depends on what they put. Like the bill of the hat might not be in terms of like it can hold some water, but the material itself is waterproof material it's covered in. So yeah, it rinses out well. It's why I wanted to get those specifically. And it's a flex fit.
And it's a flex fit.
Yeah, which is nice.
Nice hats. So if you want one, you like the podcast, you like the things we ramble on, support us by buying a couple of the products. That's all I got, buddy. Happy birthday.
Thanks.
Be better, Jacob.
I will.
Okay.